in Orchestraville.
Orchestraville? Where's that?
You change 4 and 7 to 87?
Oh, that view is tremendous.
A landing was made this morning on the coast of France by troops of the Allied Expeditionary Force.
I don't blame them for dyeing your hair, I said, but they waited too long to embalm it.
Time now for spinning my dad's vinyl. Here with all his skips, scratches, and pops is my dad, Frank Vaccarello.
Thanks, sweetie, and thank you for tuning into episode 87 of Spinning My Dad's Vinyl. It's a 78 RPM Sunday, and this time we head to Cuba and get treated to the Latin beat that was so popular in the first half to middle of the 20th century, and a rhythm that still rules some of the best music in the world. So, get ready to hear both sides of all 4 records in Volume 87, Rumba Rhapsody. The title track of the collection, Rumba Rhapsody, written by Rafael Audinot. Okay, why this collection for this episode? Well, as I go through the stacks of Shellac records, I'm really digging looking at the great artwork and color that they used on the covers, and how well some of them have withstood the test of time, especially knowing where they have been stored over the years. This one caught my eye because of the color and because of the title. Plus, I knew I had to play some of this older Latin music that was enjoyed so much. And since I remember so few of my dad's 78 RPM records, I definitely don't remember this one, but I've been enjoying listening to the recordings it contains.
Delicado, que nací para el amor. Ese coche me ha estropeado para en la esquina, señor. Ya me duele la cabeza, tengo estropeado un riñón. Y si sigo en este coche, voy a soltar un pulmón. Cochero, pare, pare, cochero. Cochero, pare, pare, cochero. Para en la esquina me tiro en el suelo. Por ruta central yo llevo a mi abuelo. Y por 15 kilos lo llevo a 100 pueblos. Qué bonito, bonito está mi cochero. Qué bueno, bueno está mi cochero. El bongocero. Cochero, pare, pare, cochero. Cochero, pare.
Spinning my dad's vinyl.
Que usted me mandó a buscar y como no puede entrar en la puerta te lo pongo aquí, mamita, que está el mondongo que usted me mandó a buscar y como no puede entrar en la puerta te lo pongo. Fui a pasear por las calles, la muralla, me encontré la negrolaya y me convidó a pasear. Una tarde estaba yo paseando por la calle, la muralla, me encontré la negrolaya y me convidó a pasear, mi amor. Por una corona, corona, oh, yeah, corona, corona, Castillo Manguero, yeah, Castillo Manguero, corona, 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 bongo, 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 mi amor, a ti no le toca,
El Mondonguero, written by F. Bauzá. And before that, we heard Pare Cochero, written by Marcelino Guerra and Miguel A. Banguela. Okay, let me introduce you to the 78 RPM collection I have chosen for this episode. Caney, Rumba Rhapsody. It's on the Decca record label, number A238. It's part of the 21M series, Serie Hispana. It's a 4 shellac 10-inch 78 RPM album format, Repress, released in 1942. It's of the genre of jazz and Latin, and its style is rumba, Latin, jazz, and Cubano. And by the way, Caney is actually Quarteto Caney, a band I'll tell you more about a little later. We will hear all 8 sides of this collection. I even played the very first one because it happened to be the title record, even though it wasn't in very good shape. There are no liner notes, so I will get on with the prices this collection is getting on Discogs.com. And looks like it was only sold once on August 17th, 2021 for $20. eBay had a copy for $18.99, and you could only purchase the streaming version on Amazon. Now, my dad's shellac records, they're in poor condition. I almost didn't play that first disc, but since it is the title track of the collection, I thought I better play it. It really was messed up. The cover is in surprisingly good condition, but I'll have to call it fair since there's a few marks on it. And of course, my dad has his address label on the front cover. The spine, though, is in really good condition, and the engraved lettering is still pretty sharp. I think I'll value my dad's shellac collection at $10. Okay, let's move on with another double spin.
Me boté a Guanabacoa, a casa de un babalao, a que mirara mi casa y a mí que estaba salado. Me cobraron unos 5, yo solo pagué la mesa. Los patos, gallo y paloma no entraron en esa cuenta. Cuenta, cuento, me empezaron a mirar con 7 pedazos de coco que tiraban para arriba y empezaban a saltar mientras iba cabarula a Chango y a Yemayá. Pa' que diga la verdad, no lo vayan a engañar.
¿Y qué fue lo que te digo, brujo?
Usted me trae un gallo gordo, me trae manteca de cacao, me trae maíz, miel de abeja, ¡ah! Y 4.75 que ya se me había olvidado.
Y 4.75 que ya se me había olvidado. Y 4.75 que ya se me había olvidado. Y 4.75 que ya se me había olvidado. Y 4.75 que ya se me había olvidado.
Ay, me boté a Guanabacoa, acaso un babalao.
Y 4.75 que ya se me había olvidado.
Mi gallito pica y muerde, la gustado.
Y 4.75 que ya se me había olvidado.
Pero mira, Rafaelito, está jalado.
Y 4.75 que ya se me había olvidado.
A ese gallito si le zumba, es colorado.
Y 4.75 que ya se me había olvidado.
Dad's Vinyl.
Paran Pan Pin, pim, pomba. Yo te he visto con María en la puerta de Solar. Yo te he visto con María en la puerta de Solar. Ah, 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 pim, pomba. Ah, 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 pim, pomba. Con tu cara de Paran Pan Pin, pim, pomba. Con tu cara de Paran Pan Pin, pim, pomba. Yo te he visto con María en la puerta de Solar. Yo te he visto con María en la puerta de Solar. Ah, 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 mi compa. Ah, 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 mi compa. Con tu cara de ballena muerta a la orilla del mar. Ah, 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 mi compa. Ay, no me saques el rebote que va a tener felicidad. Y no me tires de pentina que tú estamos en carnaval. Que no levante tanto el brazo que parece un alemán. Y los aliados están de pin, compa. Ay, cuando te vayas a jurar, yo te voy a levantar. ¡Opa! Pin, compa. Paran Pan Pin, pim, pompa. Pim, pompa.
Paran Pan Pin, written by Luciano, Pozo, Chano. And before that, we heard Brujo De Guamabacoa, written by H. Cárdenas. Okay, let's learn a little about the band on these recordings. The Cuarteto Caney was a Cuban dance music group from the 1930s and 1940s, founded in the early 1930s in New York City by Cuban musician Fernando Storch. They were among the first groups to popularize Cuban music to American audiences. With a repertoire based on the pure style of Cuban soneros, the group signed with the Columbia label in 1936 and recorded more than 100 songs in 6 years. Despite having been conceived as a quartet and maintaining that name throughout its history, its format was extended to 7 musicians, becoming in fact a septet. At the end of the 1930s, songs such as Claravel, Cantando, Maleficio, and Lamento Jericho were heard daily on the radio stations of Santo Domingo, Havana, and San Juan de Puerto Rico. They toured Venezuela and the United States, although, as a curious fact, they never performed in Havana or Puerto Rico. This group was heir to the followers that Antonio Manchin left in New York City with his departure for Spain. With a large number of recordings, Caney defined for that time a fundamental part of the Cuban sound of Latin music in the United States. Okay, next up, I don't think that's how W.C. Fields said it.
carbonero, carbón, bombón, que desespero, a 3 kilos el saco, lo vendo barato, para las planchadoras, lo traigo mejor, y mi cantarle abajo, que no suena ya, carbón, bombón, el carbonero, iba a llover, mira para el cielo,
Bom, 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 el carbonero, toma el saco, dame el dinero.
el Caney y sus maravillas, tiene una mata de almendras, con un letrero que dice, el que no sabe que aprenda.
Bom, bom, el carbonero, toma el saco, dame el dinero.
Este carbonero me tiene ya cansado, apenas suelta el saco, sale disparado.
Bom, 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 el carbonero, toma el saco, dame el dinero.
Pero oye mi amigo Franco, agárrame el mandado, este carbonero está desesperado.
Bom, 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 el carbonero, toma el saco, dame el dinero.
El Carbonero, or Hey, Chickadee, written by Iván Fernández. Time now for this episode's interesting side note, and it only serves to introduce the musician who started this band. Fernando Storch was born in Cuba in 1904 and belonged to the elite of the ambassadors of Cuban music. Forming Cuarteto Caney shortly after moving to the United States in the early 1930s, Storch based the group on Cuba's classic soneros groups. While rooted in the tradition set by Tombeo Septets, Storch greatly expanded on the traditional format, often breaking tunes down to bare-bone percussion and vocals. Signed by the Columbia record label in 1936, Cuarteto Caney was extremely prolific, recording more than 100 tunes before 1942. The group remained active until the mid-1970s, when Storch retired and settled in Jacksonville, Florida, where he died in 2001. Next up, just think of all the grandkids.
Mis hijos se me casaron con 3 chiquitas de Camagüey. La chiva con su chivito, la vaca pinta con curuguey. Mi finca se ha convertido en el templo del amor. Y sin que supiera nada, la finca al canoto de estación. El sinfonte con su hembra en la rama oculta, el nido formó. El perro solo se ocupa de que no robe su dulce amor. A mis hijos pregunté con quiénes se me casaron. Los 5 me contestaron: ay papi, ¿con quién va a ser? Juana con Pedro, Rosa con Pablo, Lola con Chucho, Jacinto y José. Mis hijos se me casaron con 3 chicas de Camagüey. Juana con Pedro, Rosa con Pablo, Lola con Yuyu, Jacinto y José. Tiene rabia en el tablero esa sabrosa mujer. Juana con Pedro, Rosa con Pablo, Lola con Yuyu, Jacinto y José. Juana con Pedro, Rosa con Pablo, Lola con Yuyu, Jacinto y José. Juana con Pedro, Rosa con Pablo, Lola con Yuyu, Jacinto y José. Juana con Pedro, Rosa con Pablo, Lola con Yuyu, Jacinto y José. Dos cogieron cada una y una se quedó con tres. Juana con Pedro, Rosa con Pablo, Lola con Yuyu, Jacinto y José. Juana con Pedro, Rosa con Pablo, Lola con Yuyu, Jacinto y José.
Mis cinco hijos se casaron, or My Five Sons Got Married, written by Osvaldo Ferez. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed bringing it to you. I've always been a fan of the Latin beat. Stumbling upon and into a Latin jazz club in St. Louis one evening while there for a conference still ranks as one of my most memorable nights when it comes to live music. Next time in St. Louis, I'll have to check to see if that club is still there, and hope that the trains are still running when I get out. Otherwise, we're walking back to the hotel like we did on that trip more than 20 years ago. And how well did I dance that night? Well, I do have two left feet.
La vengo siguiendo a usted como a finca, arrollando con un solo pie, como a finca, arrollando con un solo pie,
con un solo pie, con un solo pie, con un solo pie, con un solo pie, con un solo pie.
Adiós, mi negrita linda, mañana te contaré.
Con un solo pie, con un solo pie.
Acuérdate cuando bailes yo fui quien te acompañe.
Con un solo pie, con un solo pie.
El que nace para uno, nunca quiere ser de tres.
Con un solo pie, con un solo pie.
La vengo siguiendo mamá desde Picota Merced.
Con un solo pie, con un solo pie.
Pueden tomar lo que quieran, que yo te apago el café.
Con un solo pie, con un solo pie.
Con un solo pie, or With One Foot, written by B.J. Gutierrez. And there you have a 78 RPM Sunday with selections from a book of great Cuban music. So thanks for tuning into Volume 87 Rumba Rhapsody, however you did. If you want more information about this show, head over to spinningmydadsvinyl.com. I'll be back next week with all my skips, scratches, and pops for the start of Franklin Mint Month and Volume 88, Greatest Jazz Singers Part 1. Until then, go with the flow, my friends.